Hey everyone, this is Sage from Vision here with another deck profile, Nova Grappler Heroes. There will be timestamps in the descriptions with parts of interest in the video. Before we get into the video, I'd like to ask if you can give this a thumbs up. Let us know at Vision that if you like the content, and without any further delay, let's get on with the video. As with every guide I will have two rules. Rule number one is read your cards, and rule number two, have fun playing Vanguard.
So I recently got back from my trip from Japan. I played in Vanguard Premium. It was the World Finals. It was great. I met a lot of new people, a lot of amazing people, and I made a lot of new friends. A new friend recommended that I build Heroes because it's very cheap and it can counter Riviere to play in a few locals there in Japan. I did have a lot of fun with it because it was in Japanese and I got to play with people I've never played with before. And the fact that it's also cheap. And it does do very well against force decks. I wasn't able to face any Rivieres. I did play in two locals. I didn't do very well in one, and then I won another one. So it has the potential to do pretty well. Without further ado, let's get back to the deck portion of the guide. Welcome to the deck portion of the guide. Let's just start with the grade 3s first. So first we have Spinning Valiant. You're on 4. He's your boss win. He's your main win condition with your Spinning Valiant guard restrict. Just know you really want to ride this card. If you don't, you're going to really struggle to win the game. The next card we have is Girly Dolly. She's the only reason I'm considering this deck to be anywhat viable. If you have 5 or more hero rear guards, all your guardians get an extra 10k extra shield, and it's continuous, so it stacks. If you have multiple Girly Dollies, ends up being almost a little broken if you can get 2 or 3 out of there. It doesn't do great against control decks because they can retire it, but in a meta where you can basically use one card to guard almost any attack, it's great. And then the last grade 3 we have is a giftless grade 3, Miss Splendor. Whenever one of your hero rearguard attacks, they can't intercept, so they can't get over your small attacks without guarding with something, anything, right? Also, if you have more rear guards than your opponent, you get 3k power, and the stacks as well. So I've had 2 or 3, and all my hero units got an extra 9k power, 6k power. It's great. These two I actually generally try to put in the back row behind something that is either the Vanguard or behind a big beater like Stylish Hustler, because your interceptors in this deck are really, really good with Girly Dolly. And actually now we'll go down to the grade 2s. So we have Stylish Hustler. He's your beater of the deck. So he gets 3k power for every damage you have in the damage zone. Ends up being by himself. He gets really good numbers for later in the game. Also, his other skill lets you get a card back if your opponent retired something else. It's a very good ride target if you're against Kagero. Just a little added benefit there. The next grade 2 we have is Fever Rocketeer. It's a 12k beater, always when attacking Vanguard, so it doesn't need a boost unless your opponent's grade 3. And then if you intercept with this, you get the next 10k extra shield. So it ends up being a good intercept target and a good hitter at the same time. Where then our next card, Warrior of Chakram, you get 5k extra guard for every card in your damage zone. So you can almost use this to like guard one whole attack. I end up throwing this mostly on my Excel circles because it just hits for 14 by itself, which is pretty weak, but it does have a really good intercept ability. And then the next card we'll do is the grade 1, Smash Masher. Now, he's on attack, so he's not a great booster, but you can use him in early game situations if you do not have a good attacker early. You can also recycle the Counterblast with his second skill, which puts him in the soul to countercharge. So it's not a complete loss, and he's okay on your final turns when you have, let's say, 5 open Counterblast, and you can attack with and you have guard restrict and him. And I've had games where I possibly used him, and I was able to use Spinning Valiant twice in the game. Our next one is our best grade 1 is Rolling Extender. He's a 13k attacker on rearguard and a booster on rearguard. So he's great on turn 1, great on turn 2, great on turn 3. He's good by himself. He's a great booster behind anything that hits pretty weak. So really take advantage of that, especially early game with your turn 1, if you can throw him on rearguard. Also is a good booster to hit over triggers with any card on your turn 2. And then last we have 2 Rocket Hammerman. Rocket Hammerman is a good booster for any hero rearguard. Also just benefit being a hero. With your Nova Grappler deck, you do want to run all heroes in order to make sure you don't miss out on Girly Dolly's skill to guard. You're pretty much using this deck as an advantage deck, to where every card in your hand is a lot more shield value than your opponent can really deal out to you. And that's why we'll go into our grade zeros. So first, actually, we have 8 draw triggers. We run 8 draws because we want to see our key pieces, such as our Spinning Valiants and Girly Dollies. Any card we draw ends up being a lot more shield value than actual crits in most decks because of Girly Dolly. You just want to have as much hand advantage as possible. That's why we run 8 draw. And then next we run 4 heals. We like running 4 heals because I like to heal back damage. It's really insane value, and you can potentially, 6 damage heal, of course, and it also has great shield value. And then last we run 4 crits. Now, a lot of people, and me included, when this deck first came out, we ran 4 fronts because your opponent would hit a damage trigger on your Spinning Valiant. It would feel really, really bad. And your Spinning Valiant is pretty much useless on that turn. And it made it more useful for that. However, crits let you do more pressure earlier, so you can actually Spinning Valiant at an earlier time. And you could potentially, when you go for your final turn with Spinning Valiant, you could hit him with a crit, winning you the game. Most of the time on that final turn, your opponent won't guard the Vanguard. So it's very valuable to have crits for that. And the last we have is 1 of the starter. Some tips in the deck I want to include: that you want to be careful when you use Spinning Valiant, because you can use it too early when your opponent's at too low damage and you just no guard all of it. Also, you want to make sure your opponent's hurting in hand advantage. That's why it's important to go aggro early. You hope to draw your Rolling Extenders and your Fever Rocketeers early in order to just to put pressure on from turn 1, turn 2. And keeping the advantage going with Girly Dolly. Now, as you see, the theme is, for this deck, is a lot of shield value. And you really just want to take advantage of reserving a lot of your resources other than just keeping a lot of rear guards out for Girly Dolly. And make sure you're always slowly pushing. This is a deck where you need to be a little more patient with your opponent. And just know you could win potentially just from card advantage or guard restrict at the end.
Next thing I want to talk about is pros and cons of the deck. So the first pro is that it's an Excel deck. So it's always really great because you can abuse Excel too. Next we have is Girly Dolly. Really shuts down all Force decks because of the shield value of every card. Now with that, it basically means that you have card advantage through being able to have to guard with less cards. The next is an excellent guard restrict kill turn. Now because of his extra guard restrict, it's one of the stronger points of this deck. And now combining that with your excellent shield value with Girly Dolly, you kind of have 2 win conditions going on. And the last pro I can think of is this deck can be very underestimated. They see this as kind of a joke, but if your opponent's not ready for what will happen, then they can be very punished. And then next we have is the cons of the deck. Any control really hurts from your opponent because it shuts down your rear guards, and you can't really do anything when it comes to Girly Dolly. You need 5 or more hero rear guards in order to make that happen. Retire is okay because you can deal with it through Stylish Hustler, but binding is really difficult. And the next con is it's extremely reliant on riding Spinning Valiant and also getting your other grade 3s on rearguard. So it's a very grade 3 reliant deck, but you can still abuse most of your grade 2s in case you happen to ride the Girly Dolly. So you have somewhat of win condition if you're not able to ride Spinning Valiant, but it is very reliant on riding Spinning Valiant. Another con is most of your attacks are very small numbers, so you're hitting things like 15k, 24k, maybe 25k, 14ks. You're hitting for very low numbers where a damage trigger could possibly shut down half of your attacks. Now, that seems to be okay if you go early and really push your opponent on from turn 1 to turn 2. so you're able to rush them out. And then last con I can think of is it can struggle against lots of rush, but what deck doesn't? This deck actually can deal with rush a little bit better than most, because however much damage you have, it increases your power and your shield value through a few cards. This deck isn't going to be A tier anytime soon, but you may see it being played in this coming season. Thank you for watching this video. I'm trying to keep up with the Vision deck series. If you have any questions or critiques, be sure to leave them in the comments, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when a next video comes out. This is Sage from Team Vision, and I'll see you guys next time.